All right, everybody, welcome to Lunch Bunch on this September 25th, 2025. We are going over chapter 7. We're just about to meet Carol. Carol Brinston was going to tell us how long she's been in Mary Kay, where she's zooming in from.
I am from Terre Haute, Indiana, and I've been in Mary Kay 38 years. Um, and it's been a journey. I've stuck with it, and I'm going to continue to stick with it.
How do you know me?
Through Marty. Marty invited me to an event that you had done at the airport in Terre Haute, and I said, "Yeah, I'll go."
Yep. And we've been friends ever since. And
Ever since.
she she participates in our events from time to time. She's in the same seminar. So when she's at seminar, we sneak her over and let her sit by us and all that fun stuff. So yeah, we missed you this last year at seminar, but you're going to be in Texas with us next year.
Hopefully, yes.
All right. You too, Crystal. Where are we going? I always want to say Fort Myers, and it's not Fort Myers. Where is it at? Fort Worth?
Fort
Fort
Worth,
Worth.
yeah.
Okay. We're going to Fort Worth, Texas, my friends. All right. And Carol, do you know Jody and Crystal, or do we all need to introduce ourselves?
I have seen them before
All
on
right.
the different events you've had.
Okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? We'll start with Jody.
I'm Jody. I'm in my third year of Mary Kay, and
Where do you live?
I live in Madison, Florida. That is very North Florida. I'm equally in between Lake City and Tallahassee, Florida.
Leading us into Crystal Vaughn.
It was a little bit northern yeah.
Go ahead, Crystal.
I have been in Mary Kay for almost a year. I signed up under Winnie, and Chrissy's my adopted director, and yeah, I've learned so much. I really enjoy learning and helping people look good, feel good, and I live in Tallahassee.
Yeah. So we are covering different states today. I love it. And I love that Zoom allows us to do that, and that Mary Kay allows us to have the adoptee program. I absolutely love the adoptee program. I think it's the best thing since sliced bread, because the reality is you're going to learn differently than other people. Even in my unit, there are people in my unit that don't learn as well from me, but they might learn better from somebody else. You know what I mean? So I love that we all share our ideas. And even though we're pretty much saying the same thing, it's in different ways, and we learn from each other. So we're going over chapter 7 today in the Let Them theory. And did everybody read chapter 7 with a show of hands? Jody read it. Carol read it. All right, Crystal read it. All right, cool. So the title of chapter 7, When Grown-ups Throw Tantrums. All right, Jody Cooper, I'm going to start with you. Jody had a real life experience of this in the last week. And when I was reading this chapter, I was thinking of you, and I was thinking of Leslie, who's at a vendor event today, or she'd be on here. Leslie was telling us a story of her son not getting a toy that he wanted at a farmer's market that they were going through. And I don't believe he threw a tantrum, but it was just, going through the emotions of not being able to get that toy. But Jody, let's start with you talking about a grown-up throwing a temper tantrum.
Wow. So I'm just going to tell y'all what I've experienced I'm going to have to say the real world. It's not the corporate world, because it's not corporate. I work at a nutrition club sometimes. And the lady that owns it, the past 2 times I've been in there, has had life stuff going on. And she's completely lost it. Like, screaming, cussing, like even to the fact she was slamming a blender down on the counter because she couldn't get the lid off of it. Like she was spiraling. So I'll stop there. I have well, and I'm gonna go a little bit deeper though. On the first part of this chapter, I thank God for Mary Kay and for the growth that I have had because I'm in Mary Kay. Because I would not have gotten to Scott, even though he's not Mary Kay. I would not have found my life coach, Scott, if I wasn't in Mary Kay. So it's a Mary Kay blessing.
Mhm.
I stood there and was able, like in my past life,
Which we're talking 6 months ago.
yeah, 6 months.
Your words. Like 6 months ago, I would have reacted very differently to this, right?
6 months ago, it would have been I would have shown out, told her about herself, like the whole 9 yards, and then I would have came home and just withdrew. So I did not do that. I stood there, I breathed in my box breathing that I have learned that I absolutely think it is the one thing. It was worth every dime, just that one thing. I've used it quite a bit, but it's I have seen not she, y'all. God put me in that nutrition shop on those hours when she was going to lose her mind, so I could realize what I have that I was losing focus on, because my natural is, for some reason, I want to focus and do everybody else's work. I don't want to do Jody's work. I want to bless everybody else. I don't want to bless Jody. So we'll stop there, and then I'll talk more at the end of this
So good.
chapter.
So good that this is the chapter that we're talking about right now. Like crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. Anybody else want to share a real life experience that they've had? We've all had real life experiences from this chapter. I've had multiple. How about you, Carol?
I worked in a factory for 42 years, and I started out as a receptionist. That's what they hired me in for, and I went on the floor to make more money. And so there were temper tantrums all the time. I couldn't believe the way people talk to their supervisors. I mean, and some of the supervisors threw temper tantrums. They were crazy. I just walk away. I didn't want to be a part of it. So there wasn't anything that I could do to contribute. So no, I just walked away.
Hmm. Yeah, what else can you? So you were being an example of the let them theory even before you had read the let them. So where do you feel, hi Tara? So where do you feel that you gained that emotional maturity to not participate in that?
Um, I've always been somebody who wanted to get along with people. I mean, I would have to work with different people on different shifts on overtime. They would have to come in and work on my shift on their overtime. And I just wanted to get along with them to get the job done. And as far as the supervisors throwing their tantrums, they didn't direct it at me. I've never had a supervisor come and yell at me. So I mean, I treated them with respect and they treated me with respect. So
Hmm. Hmm. How about you, Crystal? I know you've had some recent boundary conversations with your employer and that we've talked about in previous chapters.
Yeah, so I've been kind of, we talk about boundaries a lot last couple of months, and changing how I approach things and vocalizing how I feel about certain things, which has changed my circumstances, uh, which was hard for me because I'm not used to doing that. And it's better. And people don't know if you don't say anything. So, yeah.
So what are some real life experiences? Do you feel like you are learning how to control your emotions more than you did before?
I think so. Because I've been like, okay, let's take a second, let's breathe, let's, depending on, talk through it. Let me write it down, or something, just to get everything kind of organized before I respond to something emotionally. So yeah, I think so. More regulated, like Mel was talking about. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you.
And not being perfect, right? Like none of us are perfect in this. We're still going to
Oh,
have
yeah.
moments that we react and don't let the 90 seconds go past and let the emotion rise and fall before we, respond to it.
Great.
I get some sort of like rubble.
How about you, Tara?
Can you say the question one more time, Chrissy?
So we're just kind of sharing if we have a real life experience of this chapter. Did you read the chapter?
Mhm.
Yeah. So of this chapter of controlling emotions, not controlling emotions, seeing somebody else lose their mind, whatever the case may be, we all have experiences in this, right? So just asking for those.
So, one just happened a little while ago, so that's the most fresh in my mind. But then I have another one. So the most recent one was a lady that I have to work with in a group we volunteer in, and she has a very, very type A personality, and she will throw a fit if she knows something and you know differently than her, or put it nicely. So no matter what your level of knowledge is, no matter what your background is, she always knows more than you. And so she'll go about her way. I think it's the adult way to have a tantrum. That's why I thought about this chapter, because she'll go out of her way to go find and research evidence to prove her answer, even if it's something really simple, like how a QR code works or something. She'll go out of her way to prove it and screenshot stuff and put it together and then send it to you to prove that she's right. So that just happened a little while ago again. And then the other one I think that's glaring is someone that is a family member that we hired to work for us in elder care. And um, they researched and found how much they should be making compared to what, we were paying them at the time. And even though they'd only worked for us for like 2 weeks and had shown up late, inconsistent, not shown up at all, not heard from them, but still sent us this message about what they should be earning. And then when we said, no, we're not quite prepared to pay that much, and here's why, we got to see some consistency, they have thrown a silent treatment, and it's been ongoing for over a year. And so they literally went silent, stopped talking to everybody, stopped showing up, stop everything, and then we'll only send these like passive aggressive memes of like, when people stab you in the back, you got to look them in the eye and like stuff like that, like in a meme, and we'll like send it in a message, just a picture with words on it, nothing else, no anything otherwise. So anyway, those are my two big examples.
Right. Then we got to look at that and, what she says in here, whether we're the one being treated irrationally or we are the ones having irrational thoughts, it reflects the person that they're feeling. Like it's not about you, right? So that also goes on the flip side, which is harder to look at, is like when I am so perturbed at what somebody is doing, that is a reflection on me and my past. And what is that about? Why am I so upset that this person sends a meme or that this person has to prove themselves right? Right. So that's kind of what I'm working through with. So I have a stepmother that always has to be right. I have a stepmother that has to be taken care of, and now she's the caregiver of my father who it has dementia and can't care for him. Look at this baby. Sorry. I saw a squirrel. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Look at that. I can smell him. I can smell him all the way over here. Oh my goodness. So precious. So precious. Congratulations, Jamie.
Oh,
Oh. Oh my goodness, Jody, so cute. Okay, sorry. Hold on. Who put something in the chat? Oh, she's trying to stay muted because the baby's crying. So it doesn't
Okay.
bother the recording. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, but yeah, so it's like, why am I so aggravated at these things that she's doing that really have no impact on me whatsoever, right? And so we have to look at both sides of that. She said, sorry, not sorry in the chat.
it's okay. It's okay. There was a line in there where she said, it's not your responsibility to manage their emotions. And that one was a big one for me. I like underline and started because that's she goes on to say something else about trying to fix them. So I ignored that part. I stopped it. They're not your responsibility to control their emotions. I just remember that part. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have so many examples. Even when she talks about, making my son feel bad for the emotions that he was having and walking away like he's throwing a tantrum, and he really wasn't. He was just having an emotion, and I didn't even let him fulfill that emotion because I didn't have time to deal with it in that moment. Like, and it's not because I wanted to hurt my son. I just didn't know any better. So when we know better, we do better, right? So now that I know better, I can allow people and my son and other, children to express their emotions. And you always wish like you could go back. And I think that's why Jody is the perfect example right now, why grandparent life is so much better. Like we've learned so much, and now we can be way better to this grandkid than we ever were to the parents of the grandkid. Well, you never did that with me, Mom. Well, that's because I didn't know any better. And you're not going to do as good with this baby as you're going to do with his baby, right? So it's just kind of a circle of life, I guess. I am not a grandmother yet, but I've seen it enough to understand it. All right, so in the short summary that we have here, this chapter explores emotional maturity and how to navigate relationships with emotionally underdeveloped adults. Knowing not all adults are reading the let them theory. They don't understand that they're acting like an 8-year-old, And didn't I just bring up, I was talking about this recently and I wasn't sure if it was on Lunch Bunch or not, how I used to look at my aunts like they were high school kids. Did I talk about that on here? My mom used to get so upset with her sisters. And one day I'm like, Mom, just look at them as high school kids, even though they were in their 50s and 60s, right? And they should know better. They didn't have that mentality. They just never grew up beyond their senior year of high school, if that, maybe sophomore year of high school, right? And so when I looked at them like that, I could love them for just who they are. And I didn't have any unmet expectations because I just knew they didn't have that capacity. They just weren't there. One of them never got her driver's license. They worked in very simple jobs like gas stations and Walgreens and waitress, and those are high school type jobs that they lived that out until they died. Those were the jobs that they had, and they were happy with that. So if they're happy with that, why does that need to upset me? If they're happy being a server or they're happy working at a gas station, seeing the same people every day, let them. Let them. I didn't even say that over the let them theory, but it's true, right? All right. So Robbins emphasizes that while emotions are intense at any age, individuals should not take responsibility for managing another adult's emotional reactions. Instead, she introduces the let them theory as a way to establish healthy boundaries while allowing others to experience their emotions without interference. She distinguishes between children, who need guidance in regulating their emotions, and adults who must take ownership of their feelings and how they resemble each other. If you don't have the paper book, there was actually a chart that she showed with child behavior compared to adult behavior. And she talked about it in the Audible, but it was like, when children run away from you, an adult version of that is avoid confrontation. When a child sulks or pouts in the corner, an adult will give you the silent treatment. When children shut down, adults act stoic. When children throw tantrums, adults erupt, rage, text, and vent, which is basically a tantrum, what Jody experienced at the nutrition clinic. Children slam doors, adults slam doors. Children lie, and adults lie. We are just older children. And isn't it funny too? When I'm around my siblings or I'm around my high school friends, I resort back to childlike and high school-like behavior. Don't know what that must be mental. It must be some sort, I work on it. I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be that person still, let's not do that. And I think that the more of this type of stuff that I get into my brain and the coaching that I've gotten through loving people where they're at definitely help with that, But when I grew up, our terms of endearment for each other were name calling and cussing. And that meant we loved each other. It was just what we did. And a lot of gossip, it was not healthy, But we loved each other. Even though it sounds terrible from somebody looking at it, and it took me moving 1,000 miles away and being away from it from so long to go, man, you guys are really mean to each other. That's not nice to say that, these kids, they think that that's okay. It's not okay to call each other those names. Anyway, any thoughts before I move on?
Oh, I have a lot
You
of
might
thoughts.
have said it already, but he was like, I'm not talking to you right now, was one of the responses.
Yeah.
So, like, she was cutting off.
Yeah. And that's basically her saying, I don't know how to deal with this emotion, so I'm just going to shut you out. And if we're not talking about it, then it's not really happening.
Mhm.
Were you going to say something, Tara?
Oh, I was agreeing with Crystal, and then I was also going to say, there's this in the education field, there's this all kinds of education and classes you go to learn how to help young people unpack their emotions and deal with things. But there's this amazing trainer who's a male, which that's a whole nother thing in itself, getting males to unpack their emotions. That's a book in itself. But there's this amazing male trainer that trains people that works with preschool age kids. So think like 2 to 7 year olds. And because North Carolina preschool is still up until 7. Anyway, that's a whole nother book too. Um, but, but but he unpacks how to walk through like an emotional journey with young kids, and then he talks about it like how we deal with it as adults and how we process it and how we want to do, and everything he teaches in the training about, okay, I understand that you're having that emotion and you're trying to get it out by yelling, but let's use more words, than we're using sound. And anyway, he does it is beautiful. But everything he talks about in his training lines with like her little child behavior, adult behavior chart. And so I was just thinking that it all lines up so beautifully. And when you think about some of the things that you teach, that you learn in working with young people, like it applies to adults too, to all of us. So
And when it's broken down like this, it's easier to understand. I have heard many adults, my own family included, that watch another adult walk a child through their emotions and go, my God, put them in a timeout, put them in the car, give them a spanking, and they don't understand why you're walking through the emotions because they've never learned to walk through their emotions. What they learned is to keep quiet. Children are seen, not heard when you're around adults, right? And that doesn't help us at all get any of the emotions out. So I can definitely see this. There was abuse in my home growing up, and we were not allowed to talk about it ever, ever. Like, how is that healthy for anybody to move through those emotions to know that, anyway. And I think with every generation, even this current generation that's a little bit more aware of it and learning it, like she said, we are not perfect. We have to give ourselves grace because of the creases in our brains of how we were raised and how our families were. It doesn't make us bad people. We just have to work at improving the creases and building that muscle to just love people where they're at, let them feel their emotions, but don't be a punching bag either. Like, we're not a punching bag. We're not condoning different things. We're just not giving it our energy. Were you going to say something, Jody? Earlier?
Yeah. So the second part of the chapter where she flips the script and says, we can also be that person. And I have been that person. Especially here this past year. I intentionally knew I was being that person. Well, no, I intentionally knew I was withdrawing. I didn't know I was, like acting like a 5-year-old pitching fit in, Walmart, who I sit there and say, oh, them parents ought to have their butts beat for letting their kids act like that. But so what I just said was, it's so true. I didn't have, my dad, my father, he does not do emotions whatsoever. So, genetically general raising, I got that. But there's a part where, okay, you have to recognize that. And you have to change that. So, yes, we are like that because of what's happened to us. If I went and, told y'all my childhood, y'all would not probably think my parents were very good. And like, the older I get, I kind of look back and I'm like, my mom did better than how she was raised.
Right.
So, now my dad, he didn't do better than, but anyway, that's a whole nother story. So, but then you have to quit being, you can't let it make you be a victim either. There's people that walk around like, oh, I can't do nothing because, please don't take this wrong, because, a childhood rape, let's just put that, or something like that. It's trauma. But you can't be a victim of your trauma. You've got to, build on that. And so this back part of this, was it was hard to read. And then I listened to it, and it's taken me 3 hours to get through the second half of the chapter, because I was like, bruh, I didn't want to listen to it. I mean, like, at first I didn't, because she was like talking about me just not too long ago. And Christy's smiling because Christy's got the majority blunt of that childhood tantrum of withdrawing, and I won't talk to you. So, what I can say when I finish the chapter is I can say I answer Christy's phone calls now. I am accountable, and I am growing. I think I've personally made leaps and boundaries, but Mel just, was like, don't get too proud of yourself because you got a lot more growth to go. But yeah. And it is hard, but we all are. She does say, have grace for doing that, because that's how we're made. But we do we do have a choice in how we continue or we grow. So we should always want to continue to better and grow. We shouldn't be done until we're done. And we don't get to say when we're done. So we should always want to grow. So there's always room for growth. I got a lot more to go, but I think I've done a lot better, and this is some good stuff. Coaching is some good stuff. Like,
I'll never forget when we were doing hybrid meetings and, you know, we had Zoom up and then people were in person. And I announced, this is just getting to be too much for me. So we're just going to have in person. And Jody logged out of the meeting, like as soon as I said that, and I noticed it. Normally I don't notice those kind of things, you know, and she didn't come back. So I called her after the meeting. I go, did you log off? Because I said, yes, I did. This is my meeting. This is how I have my meeting. And she was so upset with me. Oh my gosh. That was the first time I'm like, okay, I'm gonna walk with kid gloves on this one here. We're gonna love her through this. Yeah. But you have come a very long way. You have come, and you know, everybody's at their own level, and that's just it. Like, if you're not continuing to read the chapter when it gets uncomfortable, like you said, even though it might take you longer to read that chapter, that's growth right there. You're willing to hear it. And there's so many people in the world not willing to even pick up the book, knowing they're going to hear something that they need to hear, right? And that's why my sisters won't allow me to pick the books in our book club. Because I pick self-help books and they just want the romance novels and the murder mysteries. I say, okay. And I just love them through it. You know, that's all I can do. All right, moving on. Marginal gains, small shifts for big impact, recognizing that emotional outbursts in adults often stem from lack of self-regulation. Shifting the mindset from trying to fix others to focus on personal boundaries, right? So Jody had shared in that moment when she's having the temper tantrum, she focused on her breathing. She prayed for this woman. She loved on this woman in her brain, right? Because people can feel that frequency from you. If you're feeling anxiety towards somebody or feeling love towards them, they can feel that. And so she wanted her to feel love coming from her. And understanding that emotions are temporary and typically pass within seconds. Like, even to try to prove that wrong, you're going to prove it right with the 90 seconds of breathing and just not reacting. I was talking to a friend a couple days ago who has 2 adopted children who are of a different race, and they're teenagers. And my friend has raised them since baby, okay? And now they have this blended family with little kids that are blended into with adults. And there have been issues with the teenagers. I mean, teenagers are a-holes. That's it. They just are. Like, and it's like in our buildup in our bodies, like back in the caveman days, at teenage years, you left your family to go find your person and learn survival, right? And then you came back to your tribe and you lived happily ever after. So it's within those formidable years that they're maintaining their adulthood. And seriously, when they're 25, they apologize for all the jerky things they did when they were teenagers. Yes, there are nice teenagers out there, but they are rare. Okay, most, including myself, was an a-hole. I was an a-hole. I just really thought I didn't need my parents' opinion anymore. I know what I'm doing. I'm an adult. Anyway, the teenagers had said some very hurtful things and even acted physically. And so, one of the things that I said is sadly, they can never take those words back. So you can just continue to love them, even though they said very hurtful things to you. And send them postcard. They're staying with their mom now. Okay. So, send postcards so that everybody in the house can read them and just, I love you. I miss you, that kind of thing. And they'll get through it. But if there's no conversation happening, they're left to build up in their own mind what you're thinking about them and that you don't love them anymore. Because they were caught up in their emotions and they don't know how to control their emotions. But we do. And it's not easy when you're dealing with teenagers that are hanging out with the wrong people and doing the wrong things. And, I heard a friend say once that our children are entrusted to us to raise them, but they're all God's children. They're not ours. And they all have their own journey. And so we cannot take responsibility for what our children do. As long as we're leading them the right way, what they ultimately do is their journey that they have, their calling with God. So Jody just shared in the chat the box breathing exercise that she talks about, where you're counting to 4, inhaling it for 4 counts, holding for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts, pausing for 4 counts. And that will literally get you through the 90 seconds of emotion if you allow it. And I think, Jody, one of the best things that you've done for yourself is not just reading the books and getting the coaching, but putting what you're learning into action is key. And you've actually put those things into action. So that's the key to it all, not just reading about it, but and when the moment comes, go F that and throw a tantrum, or you can slow down and breathe. And then you're realizing, oh my gosh, it's true. The emotion falls. Tara, did you want to say something?
So it was on the same subject of Jody time. You don't know this, Jody, but when you do know because it's you. But when I first came to my first meeting with you guys and was adopted into the amazing unit, one of the very first meetings you said, Christy said something, and I don't even remember now. And you said, so let me get this straight. And then to whatever Christy had said, you were trying to clarify. And so then recently on a meeting, Christy said something and you said, so just to clarify, Christy, is this what you're saying? And you continued on to whatever she was saying. This was just a few weeks ago. And it stuck out to me because it's such a huge change and it may seem like a small thing, but it just shows like the level of your growth and how much you're working on, not just you, but just being a leader and like learning all the things and using all the tools at your disposal. So I don't know, it just stood out to me. So I wanted to share it.
Oh, group hug. All right. The limitless potential plateau. By embracing emotional maturity, individuals can transform how they interact with difficult people, reducing stress and increasing their ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This shift allows for stronger relationships and greater personal peace. So here's some key takeaways. Number 1, emotional intensity is natural. We're gonna get those emotions. Adults feel emotions just as strongly as children do, but managing them is a personal responsibility. Number 2, suppressed emotions cause problems, literally cause you health issues, kill you. Stress kills you. Clinical psychologist Dr. Lisa Damour explains that suppressing emotions leads to more dysfunction than openly experiencing them. Number 3, boundaries protect your energy. Instead of taking on another person's stress, let them process their feelings while maintaining personal space. Just hold them out here. And sometimes I get up and physically shake my body. I have to shake something off that someone just did or said to me because I know it's not about me. And I just have to keep reminding myself that's not about me. That's a reflection on them. Something's bothering them. The first time I was verbally attacked by a consultant, she was going through a divorce, a really hard divorce. And she just took it out on me. It had nothing to do with me. Right? It's like when, go ahead, Jody.
We have currently been working on recognizing that don't take everything personal is how I'm looking at it, because people's reaction is something that they're dealing with.
Right.
Because and you know that I could react to Christy, whenever I throw my sucker in the dirt, and I love you, Christy. I'm being honest, so I'm just doing real. When I throw my sucker in the dirt and I push back, it's not something that Christy done. It's because I'm not comfortable with what I'm doing or what I'm not doing, or it's something that I haven't dealt with. And I'm learning that in coaching now. And with the fits that Michelle and I do like Michelle, I love her. She, she's going through some stuff and she doesn't know no better. And I literally sat there while I was breathing with her throwing that fit. And I thought, Jody, you haven't done anything. Don't get upset. Literally, this is her because she's losing control. She's, and I literally did that. And I did not now, was it uncomfortable? Yes, I don't care to be around that. I'd rather be in my happy little pink bubble and, be happy go lucky all the time and not have that. But that is life. And, we do deal with it. But that, if you can get to that point, and that was hard for me because I take everything personal. Like, and probably 6 months ago, I would have been like, oh my God, what didn't I do that she's not telling me that made her so mad, that made her get to this point? Like, that is how I would have thought. I don't think that way anymore. Most of the time, there's sometimes it creeps up and, you got to be like, ain't gonna do that. But it is relieving, and it is a wonderful feeling when you can recognize that. Get over your damn self. It ain't about you. Seriously. So go ahead and let them act the fool, because I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna pray for you, and then I'm going to go make my phone calls, because that's what, that's where my happy place is. So I'm done
People
talking.
don't think about us as much as we think they do. And what they think about us is none of our business. Really. We just got to think the most of ourselves, right? All right. And then number 4, emotions are temporary. So strong feelings last about 6 seconds chemically. So reacting impulsively only prolongs the discomfort. Related problems, feeling obligated to calm down or fix emotionally volatile adults, struggling to maintain boundaries with family members, colleagues, or partners who frequently express frustration, anger, or anxiety. You literally have to step away and not allow those conversations. The more you don't allow those conversations, the less people seek you out. The only reason people are complaining and stressing out to you is because you're allowing it. You're one of the people who allow them to do that. I don't hear it much. And not that I don't want to hear it. Like, I want you to voice your thoughts and we can work through those emotions. So when you're at a place to voice these things, to work through them, that's when you contact me. If you're just voicing these because you need someone to cry to, it's not me. I'm not the one to complain to if you're not doing anything to change the situation. And I'll say that straight out. And I've grown into that because I was the person you could complain to. And I know who I can call to complain to. And guess what? When I call that person to complain, I feel ick after that conversation. Like, oh, that didn't grow me at all. I just feel worse. Now I feel like I've gossiped, And that's no place to be either. So you want to surround yourself with the people who won't allow you to do that. So our objectives to reach is to develop emotional resilience by focusing on personal reactions rather than external chaos. Learn to set and maintain healthy boundaries without guilt. Without guilt. The boundaries should not carry guilt. Shift from reacting to emotions in the moment to responding with thoughtfulness. Like Scott will say, spread light and love. Just respond with light and love. You can't respond with light and love and be angry at the same time. It's not humanly possible. And recognize when to step back and let others handle their own emotional experiences. So our action plan is to pause before responding. When faced with an emotional outburst, take a breath instead of reacting immediately. Jody's talked about that a couple times. Number 2, practice letting go. Remind yourself that another person's emotions are not your responsibility. Number 3, set clear boundaries. Decide in advance how you will handle emotional outbursts. Are you going to walk away or offer limited support? Pre-plan how you're going to respond if somebody reacts on you, throws a tantrum. 4, acknowledge feelings without absorbing them. Validate another person's emotions without taking them on as your own. And number 5, reframe emotional maturity as a skill. So view emotional intelligence as a lifelong learning process rather than an inherent trait, because it is not. It is learned. The inherent trait is chemical explosions and emotional rise and falls. So it's just having the maturity to walk through that without losing your mind on people. So our action checklist: recognize that emotions are personal and not yours to manage. Allow others to feel what they feel without interference. Set personal boundaries to protect your energy. Choose thoughtful responses instead of emotional reactions. I'll say that again. Choose thoughtful responses instead of emotional reactions. Accept that emotional maturity takes time and practice. And by implementing the let them theory in emotionally charged situations, individuals can reclaim their peace, avoid unnecessary stress, and foster healthier relationships with those around them. This chapter was so good. I wish I could just rewind life, right? Just so many situations that I was an a-hole to my family, to my friends, to my kids, to my better halves. But also giving myself the grace to know that we go through this journey. God knew that we were going to react that way. He knew when we were going to figure it out. He knew who we were going to be with in that time of our life, or who we're about to be with, right? All right, last minute thoughts. We have 8 minutes.
We said before, just do the best you can do. Don't compare yourself to other people. Just be better than you were before.
Go ahead, Tara.
I heard in one of Mel's podcasts that she was talking about this subject in kind of this section. And she said that it's also okay not to respond to text messages. And you can read something and not even have to take the time to process it or respond. That sometimes the waiting that happens when you're responding to somebody verbally needs to also happen when something is written. And she used the example of text messages. And just pausing and realizing that you don't have to respond to anybody with any particular time frame. And she gave the example of, unless you're meeting them for lunch and you're running late or something, She's like, if it's something that you don't feel like you need to respond to, make that a boundary too, that you don't have to respond to it at that time, especially if it's negative or something you don't, is going to take you down a whole nother path or whatever. So,
I don't know if it's in the book or if it was on one of her podcasts, but she also said it was on one of her podcasts because her assistant had heard her with her daughter. Her daughter had come in and was very upset over something and just, like passionately sharing what was happening with Mel. And Mel's response was, "Do you need me to listen or do you need me to respond?" And I thought, whoa, if I did that with my son, he would respect me so much more. He does not always love my responses. And he's like, "Mom, I didn't need you to say that. Like, I just wanted to tell you what was going on,
yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
Me and
We
my
learned that in marriage counseling too, for my husband to ask, like, is this a listening moment or are you looking for a solution? And it helps tremendously.
Yeah, men are fixers. Go ahead, Jody.
sorry, my kids, especially the girls, they're like, Mom, I need a best friend moment, not a mom moment. And that's when I know, okay, mom is going to tell them what mom needs to tell them. Best friend's going to be like supporting them and like, we'll go put them in the trunk and I'll help look for the body. But I know the difference. Type of. There's a song like that, and
Yeah.
we used to that literally. There's a country song like that, y'all.
That's how you know who your real friends are. Would they help you bury a body? Or bury your body friends? Yeah.
Right. And so the girls would be like, I don't need mama right now. Let's go, hide the body. And I'm like, okay. So we're a little rough around here. Madison, what can I say?
Any final thoughts from you, Carol?
Oh, this is really helping me because I watch my great grandkids one day a week, and now I can have a little bit of insight into how I can deal with the daughter. And another thing too, my aunt has dementia, and I wish I could have read this book 3 years ago. So, but this is all really helpful to me. I can do the breathing and calm down, and usually I just walk away and shake my head. Oh, yeah.
That's so good. Yeah. And just remembering too, my dad has dementia right now. And so what I've learned, the little bit that I've learned is number one, don't remind them you just said something, just repeat it, if they don't know. And also know as their personalities change that that's not them. That's probably the hardest thing about it is when their personalities start to change and they just don't make sense. And,
Yeah.
just knowing it's not about you and
Yeah.
it's really not who they are. Just remember who they are, who they were, Yeah. She live with you?
Oh no. She's in a nursing home now, but I retired, and for the last 3 years I've been helping her out, and there's no way I could live with her. No way.
Yeah. And that's giving me grace towards my stepmom that I've never really had a good relationship with. Like, I'm not living there. I really don't know what she's going through.
Yeah.
So I've started to tone my fiery personality back and not giving so much of my opinion to everything. And that's not
Yeah.
easy for me sometimes. So there you go. All right, ladies. Well, thanks for coming on today. Those who show up go up. I love, love, love this book. And so our next chapter, let's see, chapter 8 is the right decision often feels wrong. Okay. Well, there you have it. I can't wait to talk about it next week. Now, just remembering tonight, we're taking everything on the road. Our spouse spice night is in person. There's going to be a lot of spouses and spices at this car pickup tonight, and I plan on interviewing every single one of them. And if you can't be there in person, you know, be there virtually. I'll go live and do some interviewing and celebrating and that kind of thing. All right, ladies, have a great day.